I went into medicine because I wanted to deliver babies. Here I am. Let's think back to 1980, before most of you were born. I'm in the delivery room. It's the first day of my obstetrics rotation during my rotating internship. I'm there with a cast of characters. There's Leo, the sweet, kind junior resident who is trying to teach me how to deliver a baby. There is, let's call him Dr. P, the attending obstetrician who is running around the room, barking orders at us. He strongly resembles a yappy chihuahua. To complete the animal metaphor, there is a nurse who is unusually neither talking nor touching the patient who is pushing on the table. Her goggle eyes and the constant movement of her jaw under her mask give her a bovine expression. And the patient, who in the fashion of the day, because God forbid the patient should contaminate the sterile field, is bound hand and foot with padded cuffs to the delivery table, which is like an operating room style table, and her feet are up in the air in stirrups, and her bum is hanging off the end of the table where I am sitting. And she's moaning and groaning in a language I don't understand. And she is pushing. Now, Leo is kindly setting up the table and walking me through the movements of how to do a normal vaginal delivery. And Dr. P is jumping around the room, barking orders at us. A few minutes later, a nurse comes to the door and beckons him. He goes and talks to the nurse, and then he turns around and goes, "Leo, avec moi." Leo looks at me very apologetically, shrugs, and leaves. I'm there with the patient, the screaming patient, and the silent nurse. I'm getting a bit stressed. The patient is pushing now, and now she's screaming, and her bum is making circles in the air. And I use a technique that has stood me in good stead up to now. I turn to the nurse and I smile and I say, "What should I do now?" She gives me the cold-eyed stare that some nurses give to the endless stream of incompetent learners that plague their lives. She goes like this and makes a note in her chart. I am sure that she is documenting how useless and stupid I am. All of a sudden, the patient is screaming and pushing, and I notice this black circle forming between her legs. Oh, fuck. It's a baby head. I put on my gloves, I sit down, a new sterile gloves. I whisper to the nurse, please get Dr. P. I don't know why I'm whispering, because neither the nurse or the patient is paying any attention to me. And the patient keeps screaming and pushing and screaming. And a few pushes later, the head is really frowning. And this time I'm more direct. Go get Dr. P, I say. The nurse looks over the leg, sees my gloved hand and the towel holding the head, and even though there is an emergency bell, which I didn't know at the time, she slowly gets up and ambles out of the room. I am now alone with the screaming patient, and I am saying to her, don't push. No, push pas, no pujas, stupsen Sie nicht. But she's still pushing and screaming and screaming and pushing, and all of a sudden the head goes pop. And these eyes blink at me. And then a moment later, and I go, help, someone help me, please come, help. I'm alone in here, help. But no one comes. A moment later, the head pulls back against the perineum, and the baby is like, chin up. This is not good. So, remembering what Leo had told me, I take my fingers and I stick it into the vagina. The patient has stopped screaming for just a moment. And there I find 3 tight loops of cord around the baby's neck. And the patient starts pushing harder than ever and screaming in a language I do not understand. And I say, don't push, please, don't push. But she's pushing, and the face is getting bluer and bluer. So I'm screaming, help me, someone, come. And I just put my finger into the vagina. I hook my fingers under the first loop of cord. I grab a clamp. I get that clamp under the cord. Clamp, second clamp, clamp. Scissors, cut. And I'm going, don't push, someone help, pousse pas, nicht stupsen, I don't know, stop. And she gives a mighty heave and a mighty earth-shattering scream. And the clamp goes, fum, 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 3 times. The baby shoots out of the vagina, lands on my boobs, rolls off my lap into the bucket that is full of paper and gloves and bodily fluids, and pick up the baby by its leg. Wait. At that moment, the door opens. Dr. P, Leo, 4 nurses, and a pediatrician walk through the door. The pediatrician I want to die, actually. I just, like, if I could have expired at that moment, that would have been good. But the pediatrician walks over. I hand her the baby. She takes the baby to the table. She cleans it, wipes it. She tells me, he's okay. One of the nurses speaks kindly to the patient in whatever language this is that she understands. And wrapping up the baby, the pediatrician puts the baby in her arms, and the patient is smiling. As I am delivering the placenta, Dr. P leans down, and with immense contempt, he says to me, "Why didn't you call me?" So I became the intern who dropped the baby. You would have thought after that introduction I would have stopped wanting to deliver babies, but I'm still a birth junkie. And in my life, I've delivered between 2,000 or 3,000 babies. I've come close, but I've never dropped one again.